Hello, and welcome back to another week on the Self Ruled podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic week, and wherever you are, that maybe spring is popping out. We've got a little bit of spring here in Minnesota, and so that feels really good and energizing. And so here we are. This week, I feel inspired to talk about a season of aloneness. So, this is really for somebody who is experiencing a season of aloneness in their life. And a season of aloneness could be brought on by different things, of course. It might mean that you are single, maybe you've just gotten out of a relationship or divorced. Maybe your kids have grown up and they're gone and you're feeling the aloneness of that. Maybe you're feeling the aloneness of a job ending, some other sort of life transition. Whatever it may be, if you find yourself in a season of aloneness, I'm here to tell you or share with you that these periods of aloneness can be the most beautiful, fruitful times in your life if you allow them to be. I will acknowledge that I know it can be uncomfortable. I have been in what I would consider a season of aloneness for some years now. There were a few short reprieves of that, but really I've been in a long season of aloneness. And when I first found myself in that season of aloneness, and for me it was being single, living alone, and then it became being single, living alone, working alone in my business. I was really aware of how much I was alone with myself, alone with my business, alone with my goals. And initially, I felt torn. There were times where I felt really good about the season of aloneness that I was in because it was allowing me to focus on my goals. It was allowing me to focus on my foundation of who I am and the growth that I want to have and all of this personal transformation that I've been going through over the years. But then I also felt a lot of resistance to the period of aloneness, and the resistance would show up in the form of feeling like I was missing out on something. So maybe you have FOMO like I have at times, where you feel like you're missing out on something and you're aware of the fact that, oh, okay, I'm single, other people aren't, or I'm alone, other people aren't, or I'm working alone, other people aren't, whatever it is, but you have some sort of feeling like you're missing out. You're missing out on connection, relationships, whatever it may be. So for a long time, I kind of wrestled between feeling like the period of aloneness was really positive, but then also wrestling back and forth with, oh, I'm missing out. And it wasn't until I let go of that, like really was able to let go of, and I would say this is honestly a more recent breakthrough. After sitting with it for so long, I am finally at a position where I have let go. I have really accepted my life as it is, and I'm not resisting the season that I'm in. When you resist the season that you're in, you're not really able to capitalize on the benefits it's trying to give you. You will be splitting your energy. So I would say for a few years, I've kind of been splitting my energy between, okay, I'm putting some energy into the positive side of this. I'm in a season of aloneness. I'm working on my fitness. I'm working on my financial goals. I'm working on my business. I'm working on all of these habits of mine that I want to change. And so there was a lot of positivity around, okay, I have the space and the energy and the focus to work on these things and grow during this season. But then I was also splitting my energy in the other direction of focusing on what I didn't have, focusing on what felt like loneliness, what felt like a lack of connection, and that fear of missing out on life and seeing other people doing things differently, living in a different season and comparing myself to that season. In general, I don't really compare myself to other people, but it's more like I'm comparing myself to their season. But if you're in the season you're in, you're there for a reason and there's something to gain from it. And so it's not really fair to compare your season with someone else's season. If you're in a season of aloneness, then there is something really beautiful about that. There are so many gifts with that and so many things that you can capitalize on. If you are in a season of relationship or family or career, career productivity or whatever it is, there are so many gifts to capitalize on in those spaces as well. So you can't compare your season with someone else's season. You're in different places and there's different purposes and different things to gain from those seasons. So specifically talking about a season of aloneness, there's a lot to gain there. There's a lot to gain from kind of being free of a lot of the other distractions. And I'm not saying they're bad distractions. Your partner isn't a bad distraction. Your kids aren't a bad distraction. Your job isn't necessarily a bad distraction. But a lot of times when we're in those busier seasons, we can kind of hide from ourselves. This week I was leading a session with some people and we were talking about how we kind of have these relationships or things in our life, but what happens when they kind of disappear? And specifically, some people were talking about divorce or kids growing up and moving on or families falling apart, things like that. So a lot of times when we have those things, they're wonderful, but it's really difficult though when things fall apart or seasons change, and then we're kind of left with ourselves. And for some people, they've never really been in that situation before. I think as humans, we hide from ourselves a lot. We go through life. There's a lot going on. There might be a lot of responsibility. We might be busy, but we kind of hide from ourselves. And when I say we hide from ourselves, we hide from that deeper work that is there for us, whether it be healing past traumas, whether it be learning to love ourselves, whether it be wanting to work on ourselves in some way, improve in some way, whatever it is, there's always that work there for us. And of course, you can do that work while you're in a relationship. You can do that work while you have a family. It's just a little bit different when you're in a season of aloneness, because all of a sudden you go from having all this structure or all these demands on your time or all this connection with other people, and now you're sitting in the spaciousness of aloneness. And it's spacious, but sometimes that spaciousness can be really anxiety inducing because we're used to having all those things fill up our space, fill up our time, and kind of keep us preoccupied. So when all of those things are gone, if you find yourself in that space, it can be really scary. And a lot of times our knee-jerk reaction is to try to fill that space as quickly as we possibly can. Fill it with the next relationship. Fill it with tasks or things to do, and we just don't sit still. But the real gift of being alone or aloneness is that you get to have your eat, pray, love moment. If you've never had it, I don't know if you've seen that movie, but I feel like I've been on eat, pray, love moment for years now, and not just one trip around the globe. But a lot of people have just gone through life. Maybe you've gone through life and you've just never really taken the time to slow down, be still, sit with yourself, and reflect and really build something with yourself. And like I said, this was coming up in a session this week with some people, and we were talking about how a lot of times our sense of self is so tied to other people. Our sense of self is tied to our career, our role, our title at work, all of those things. And what happens when you don't have those things anymore? If you haven't cultivated that inner strength, that self-love, and that self-acceptance, then it becomes really difficult when all of those things that you got validation from, when they're no longer there. So the true gift of aloneness is taking that time for yourself and seeing it as a gift, really thinking about, if you know you're in that season, what do I want to happen in this season of aloneness? What do I want to explore about myself? What if I never had the time or energy to look at, and now I want to have space for that? Asking yourselves those type of questions, because a lot of times we have that spaciousness, and like I said, we quickly fill it. We quickly become uncomfortable. We might fill it with things, consumption, relationships, whatever. But I really want to encourage you to don't be like me. Don't resist it for years. I want to encourage you to accept it if you can and see the positive, because It's very possible that you might not have another season like this, or it might be a long time before you have another season of aloneness, depending on what is going on in your life. So these may not come around again for a while. So what do you want to explore in this season? What do you want to look at? And what is calling to you? Because I don't know, we never get the time back. We never get the time back. So what would be meaningful for you during this time? I think for me, I am now well aware of the fact that my season of aloneness is going to come to an end. I feel it, and I've been in it. I intuitively feel like I've got a little bit more to go. And now that I've accepted it, I feel like it's more productive, it's more peaceful, it's more enjoyable, and I'm more excited because I just see things happening so much quicker because I've really leaned into it. But I'm also now aware that it's going to come to an end. And intuitively I know that. So I want to cherish the season that I'm in and cherish what it's trying to teach me about myself and cherish what it's trying to give me. So today was kind of freestyle, but that's really what I wanted to share is if you're in a season of aloneness, how can you not resist it? How can you not see it as a negative thing and possibly lean into it and plant your seeds during that season of aloneness so that when you come out of it, you're bearing fruit, you've got your flowers and you can go into that next season of life. All right. Thanks so much for joining this week, and I'll see you next time.